The one major reason, well, there's quite a few reasons why we should stay out of war, but definitely we should never be involved in preemptive war. This country now has, started a war against a country that was not a good country and not a good leader, but less chaotic than it is today over there. But of course, we went into Iraq under false pretenses, weapons of mass destruction, participated in 9/11, and all these threats and intimidations that if we didn't go in there, our national security would be threatened. And yet, what did we end up with? We've spent nearly $1 trillion, and there's no intent to leave. The other candidates won't even take off the table, a nuclear first strike against Iran. They're not talking about closing the bases down. We have an embassy there bigger than the Vatican, at least as large as the Vatican. That means that we plan to stay there forever. What I'd like to do is change that and tell the people we're tired of running your life. What we want to do is come home and let you take care of your problems. You develop your self-determination. You don't need us telling you how to live and what to do. A lot of people would say, well, that's different. We can't do that because we got to protect our oil. When did it become our oil? How much good did it do? We spent this nearly $1 trillion over there protecting our oil, which was part of the inflationary problem, part of the reasons the inflation goes up, that raises prices. But we went over there, and the Iraqis now produce half as much oil as they used to produce. And now oil went from $27 a barrel up to $97 a barrel. I say that's not a very successful foreign policy. In medicine, if you keep doing the wrong thing, what happens to the patient? They don't do well. And you have to change course and wise up. In foreign policy, if we make mistakes and keep doing something wrong and it's hurting us, we keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we've been doing that too long. And it hasn't been just this administration. It's been going on for many, many decades. That's why we need a change in foreign policy. We need to understand why it's to our advantage. Every great nation, every great empire has always been brought to their knees, not by a foreign adversary, not for military reasons. They are brought to their knees because of financial reasons. And that is what we're facing today, a financial crisis in this country because we overspend at home, we overspend overseas, we have less friends than ever before, more enemies, and not only are we in Iraq, we're in Afghanistan threatening Iran, Turkey. We pay them to be our buddies, and they're using our weapons and our complicity in them attacking northern Iraq. I mean, you talk about chaos. And now, if we don't change our tune, we're going to be very much involved in Pakistan. Every question today was, what would you do? How are you going to do? How are you going to handle this? How fast will you go in there? What are you going to do? Well, why don't we just let them deal with that? But this war is going to spread. I'm seriously concerned that when it spreads and gets out of control, there's going to be a military draft. We don't need a military draft again. So what are we going to do about it? We have to start cutting if we're going to avert the crisis. Because empires do come down, and they come down hard. And they come down by destroying their currency. And today, if any of you are paying any attention to the financial markets, you know the dollar is not doing well. It's sick. It's been sick for a good many years, but it gets propped up now and then. And the world has trusted us because we have been an economic powerhouse and a military powerhouse, which can convey a false illusion and support for a currency. We have been the issuer of the reserve currency of the world because we used to have the dollar was as good as gold, but it hasn't been since 1971. But the world up until now has placed too much trust in the dollar, but they're placing less trust in the dollar every single day. Even on this very day, it went down about almost 1% in one day. that is going to continue. And when the dollar goes down sharply, it's going to be devastating because prices are going to go up, and taking care of the elderly who have become dependent, or providing medical care for anybody, or for us to run a good economy. You can't do it without a sound currency. And that is the reason why the most important thing we do now is get together and decide that we're going to live within our means. Most people say, oh, no, that's too tough because weaning people off is too tough. But waiting until everybody has nothing is that much worse. To me, I compare it somewhat like drug addiction. You know, if you're trying to treat a patient that's addicted to alcohol or any drugs and you try to take them off, they have withdrawal symptoms, and they're very, very bad. And you can alleviate the withdrawal symptoms by giving more alcohol or more drugs. But what happens to the patient? You know, you keep doing that, the patient eventually dies. But nobody wants to be weaned off. And that's the way inflation and big spending is that there's too much dependency. And yet, it is crucial that we do it because we don't want to have to face the crisis. Under these conditions, and we have seen it already, ever since 9/11, we've gotten so involved in these active wars in the Middle East, but we've also had an attack on our civil liberties at home. So Randolph Bourne was absolutely right when he said that war is the health of the state. When there's a war fever going on, whether it's war overseas or war against terrorism or war against drugs, it conveys a mentality that says that people have to be like sheep and succumb to the pressures of government to undermine our personal liberties. And that is what's happening today. The government was created by the founders of this country to protect liberty, not to deliberately undermine our liberties. And we need to reverse that trend.